In a world filled with Andrew Tates and very confusing feminine and masculine energy videos, I really hope that 2024 is the year that we rebrand feminism collectively. And honestly, if I have to be the one to do it, then here we go. This video is gonna piss some people off, but it needs to be said. I ran into this couple that I know, and they are newlyweds. So they were talking to me about how they're doing long distance because one of them is in med school and one of them is in law school, and they're studying in two different cities. And so she mentioned that she'd be moving to New York, where he is, shortly after she finishes her schooling. And as soon as she said that, she was like, but I was gonna move there anyway. Like, I didn't move there for him. Before I continued the conversation with them, I had this split-second moment where I kind of saw my younger self in her. And I kind of smiled to myself because I realized feminism tells us that we need to be so independent that it barely leaves room for love. It barely leaves room for companionship. It barely leaves room for compromise and for sacrifice. And don't get me wrong, any woman understands that we often are the ones forced to compromise and forced to sacrifice more than the men in our lives. And more often than not, these men have just been raised to grow accustomed to the women in their lives sacrificing. I'm not here to gaslight anyone about the injustices that do exist. I just think it was so funny that a newlywed had to explain why she would move to a different city to be with her husband. Because I understood where she was coming from, I kind of just smiled and said what I imagined I would have needed to hear at that point in my life. And it was, and what if you were moving for him? And then we got into a really deep, in-depth conversation about that and about how it's okay to do things for someone that you love, and why as women have we been taught that we're so disempowered that doing something out of love, whether it's for a man in our lives or someone else, is disempowering and not dignifying. So let's rewind to 24-year-old me. I was in a conference room. This is when I worked at the University of Michigan, and there was a lot of age range with the people that I worked with. And one of the women that I worked with was an older Black woman. I want to say she was in her 50s, married, happily married with kids. You know, she seemed like she'd probably been married for over 20 years at least. And I don't remember what we were talking about, but I said something to the effect of, I don't want someone to complete me, or I don't want someone to make me whole. I'm gonna be whole, and I'm already complete on my own, and whatever happens, I don't need anybody to make me happy. Now, I don't disagree with the words that I was saying, but just hold that thought. She kind of looked at me, not really in a judgmental way, but in kind of a confused way. And the way that she reacted, as someone who at the time I was pretty single, I was actually dealing with a lot of toxic guys. I wasn't in a committed relationship, definitely not a healthy relationship, but she kind of gave me this look of I have it all wrong. And I remember in that moment just feeling even uncomfortable with what I had said. I don't know if you ever feel this way, but you'll say something and you want to feel like you believe what you're saying, but there's just something inside that doesn't even feel good about the things that you're saying. In that moment, even though she didn't really say anything, that moment just kind of stuck with me, and I revisited it often, especially as I got older, and especially now that I'm in a healthy relationship. And I just kept thinking to myself, what was it with that? And I have so many thoughts now as a 31-year-old woman, and it's that it's okay to need your man. I don't know at what point we've empowered men so much to where we feel that it is not dignified or that it is demeaning for us to say that we need somebody. I think when you say that you need someone, there needs to be a little bit of specificity as to what. I don't need anyone else to make me happy, but I need my sister. I need my brother. I still need my dad, even though he's not here anymore. To say that I don't need my parent would be irresponsible. We would never think twice about saying that we need our parents in our life. We would not even think twice about things that are so much less worthy than the man that we've chosen to be with. I really need a new outfit for this event. I really need to lose weight. We attach need to things that are arguably less worthy. And if you said you needed a new outfit for this event, I'm not even gonna argue with you, because in your mind, you need a new outfit for this event. You're not making this thing such a freaking big deal the way that we do when it comes to men. And I want to make one thing clear before we continue with this little rant conversation. I'm not defending men. This conversation is not in defense of Ahmed. This conversation, my husband, is not in defense of the men that you may or may not be talking to, or the guy who broke your heart, like the dad who wasn't around, whatever it is. Like, I'm not defending them. I'm defending and fighting for our right as women to have healthy love and to approach love through a perspective of openness and not defensiveness. And I think that is what I see defining modern day feminism. It's so angry and so defensive. And as someone who would like to be able to call myself a feminist, it feels harder and harder by the day, because on one hand, you have girls who are just like angry at all men because of their experiences and just approaching men with like a guilty before proven innocent mindset, which to me is so disempowering. Again, not defending the guys, because there's a lot of shitty guys out there, but defending your right to go on a date and just be cute and not be so mad. Like, it's not cute. It's just not cute to be showing up on a date and like treating someone like they're in a deposition where you're interrogating them. Like, that's not sexy. That's what you have on one hand. And on the other hand, you have all these girls trying to tell you that like, if you have masculine energy, you're not cute, and like you need to just be so feminine. And when you clean your house, you need to be wearing a pretty laced up bathrobe and have your hair done so that when your man comes home, he sees how sexy you look cleaning the house. Like, I honestly might go crazy if I watch one more of those videos. And I'm literally like reciting an exact video that I watched where I'm just like, even at 30 plus years old, I'm watching this, like, this stuff is confusing. On either end, it is so disempowering. Mind you, if you'd like to get in a sexy ass robe in your lingerie or whatever, whether you're home with a man or home by yourself, do you. Like, if that's what feels right to you, by all means. If you are just naturally defensive, whatever, like we can talk about that in a different video. But my point is, why are we making men determine how we show up? Why is he the reason that we either show up in a sexy bathrobe with our feminine energy or show up like ready to freaking interrogate somebody? Why are we giving them so much power? That's my problem with modern day feminism. I grew up in a household with an Arab mother and a very Arab father. I say very because he in many ways was very traditional, very alpha, very, respected, man of few words, also super cute teddy bear. Like, my dad was very Arab. My mom was also a very proud Arab woman. I never felt like to be a woman was to be oppressed in my household. That was the domain that I operated in because my mom was so powerful. My mom was not giving up her power for anybody. My mom was also working a 9 to 5. I know finances do have a lot to do with this conversation. She was financially independent. And I think because she was financially independent, she wasn't scared to say that she needed my dad. She needed companionship. She needed a partner. She needed somebody who was a teammate. She needed to be able to blame someone when we weren't allowed to sleep over someone's house. Like, it's okay to need a man for specific things, but it is never okay, ever, to need somebody to define you or to determine your happiness. And ironically, I feel like when we make men this like villainous thing, when we turn them into the devil and the patriarchy is blah, 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 we actually are depending on them indirectly for our power. We're saying indirectly with our behavior and our disposition that as long as they exist in our world, we are disempowered. Look, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you have the privilege to determine that this man that I was dating or talking to was trying to put me in a box or tried to tell me what I could wear. I'm assuming that you have the privilege and the choice to literally swipe left on that person and be like, on to the next. I think what happens is we get so addicted to this story that men are trying to take away our power that we just give it up without realizing, like, if you give it up, that means you could take it back. You were the one that was giving it up for you to be able to take it back. I want to live in a world where feminism is about playing offense. It's not about playing defense. It's not about waiting for someone to act a certain way for you to determine how you're going to retaliate or react. I want to live in a world where women are intentional with the choices that they make, where women don't feel like they need to be stuck in this narrative that the guys in their life are out to get them. I want to hold space for the fact that you may have been part of that narrative, because that may have been your reality. You may have grown up with a father potentially that was abusive. Maybe your brothers were trying to control you. Maybe you had a pattern of dating where you were attracting men who didn't treat you the way you were supposed to be treated. At some point, you need to break that cycle on your own and understand that the person that you are choosing to be with is a choice. Like I literally just said, choosing to be with. Nobody is forcing you to be with a specific type of guy. Nobody is forcing you to be with someone that makes you feel degraded when you do certain things. But at some point, you need to ask yourself, are they degrading me? Or am I just attaching a certain narrative or a certain judgment to this thing that I'm doing? Whether it's moving to a different city to be with the person you love, or making them, breakfast in the morning because you actually like to show love in that way. Are you assigning all of this baggage and weight and judgment because some random pissed off woman on TikTok is trying to tell you that that's what it looks like to be a feminist, to not give love where you want to give love, to not depend on someone where it actually feels safe to depend on that person? This is me just giving you an option to be open to healthy love. Open your heart to the idea that it can feel safe to do things for someone else. It can feel safe to lean on somebody else. It can feel safe to say that you need someone for a very specific part of your life that you would be sharing with the partner. Otherwise, why would they be there? Why would they be there? What is the point? Like, what is the point? Do you know how fun it was when I was single? Do you know how happy I was single? Like, if I didn't need Ahmed for something, why was I with him? Do you know how much happier single women are? Like, have you read those statistics on how single women are like the most healthy, thriving group of people? If you don't feel, not like something's missing in your singlehood, because I have videos on that and nothing was missing at all in my singlehood, but that you would gain something. There was another opportunity to experience by finding a healthy love and finding someone that is worth you leaving your singlehood for. Okay, because that's how I felt. I felt like leaving my singlehood, this thing in front of me, it needs to be good, because this era of my life is amazing. This little space that I've built for myself, literally and figuratively, is so amazing that it needs to feel better than this. I need to experience something better or more elevated in a lot of ways in order for me to decide to leave this behind. So in order to do that, I did need that person. There was if there was no sense of need, why would I leave that? I know this was a little bit different than the content that I make, but it's just been on my heart and I just kind of feel like it's not going anywhere. Like, I've been wanting to talk about this for so long and I just didn't quite have the words. And to be honest, I didn't have the words today either. I usually outline my stuff, and today I was just like, let me just freestyle it. I love you so much. And as always, stay powerful, my loves.